This week's guest for Summer Thursdays is the main episode guest for my most downloaded episode. Episode 9, When It Just Got Worse, is definitely the episode I get the most DMs about. It's such a wild story. Also, if you're watching this on Spotify video or YouTube, my outfit is a little ridiculous, but also on theme. Ironically, didn't buy this for Summer Thursdays, so I had her come on to give us like a follow-up to see where she is now, to talk about the new relationship that she's in, and we obviously have some fun in between. We're gonna talk about trust issues after getting cheated on, what it's like dating someone who's divorced, changing your mind about wanting to have kids, and what you need to put in your dating app profile. All the fun stuff. You can check the timestamps in the episode description if you want to jump to a certain topic or part of the interview. Also, don't forget, I'm still accepting submissions for friendship breakups, for romantic breakups for the next season of the podcast. I have just done probably 4 or 5 interviews, and I'm already so pumped to put them out. There's one that is so intense that when I got off the interview, I literally told my interviewer, I was like, I think I have to run this by a lawyer or something just to make sure that we're good with this. So yeah, it's gonna be a good one. All right, let's get into the episode. I'm with Marina, and you guys know Marina, but you don't know that her name is Marina.
Do they not? Did we not disclose her name?
No, we totally did. I'm pretty sure we did.
I think I cut it out.
Oh.
Because I didn't know if you meant to say your name.
Oh, yeah.
And I wanted to respect your privacy.
Oh, open book, Marina.
Marina.
Yeah.
So Marina is the main episode guest from episode 9. This is my most downloaded episode. It is the one that keeps coming up on my For You page with people commenting on the video where I like pitched people to go listen to it. And people are just like crazy over your story.
Oh, well, that's so great. I'm glad that we're trauma bonding.
They're invested.
I know.
While you're here with me in person, I figured we could do a Where Are They Now catch up. Okay. Where are they now? So we talked in what, February, March, maybe?
Oh my gosh, was it February?
Probably
March?
around that.
I feel like it might have been February.
I feel like it was longer because I said I was only dating Brandon for like a month at that time, which would have been January, wouldn't it?
It was way back.
Time isn't real. I don't know.
Time is a myth.
Either way, it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
So when we left off with you, you were talking about this incredible guy that I didn't realize you had just started dating in December. You talked so highly of him. I was like, oh my gosh, they're like married. Like this is what, 5-6 months at this point?
At least 6 months now, yeah.
Still going strong?
Yeah, we met on Tinder and we went to like this really cute restaurant right in downtown Buffalo, which is where I'm from. And ever since then, it's been amazing. He's like the most amazing man I've ever met.
That's so lucky. So things are good with you two. Have you moved in?
No, but things have been moving in like a really healthy way. And he already knows he wants to marry me. I want to marry him. We're talking about babies.
Shut up.
I know. It's like really, really awesome. My lease is up in October. So we were talking about me moving from the city back to the suburbs, which I haven't lived in the suburbs since I was like 18.
Wow.
So this is a big change for me.
Does that scare you or excite you?
A little bit of both. I'm definitely a city girl through and through, but I never really saw myself moving to the suburbs unless I like met the right person. And he's definitely checking all those boxes for me because I don't think I would have considered moving anywhere for anyone else after Q because I did that with him, moved to Nashville and uprooted my whole life. And even though it's just moving from the city to the suburbs, to me, I have my guard up a little bit. Like, am I going to move for another man, another person? But I definitely think that he's the one.
Yeah. And just to catch anybody up who hasn't listened to episode 9 yet, Q is this terrible hurricane of a man who really just did the most.
Did the most. That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah. We try to keep it PG.
Yeah.
And thankfully you're out of the relationship and now with this lovely human.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in a transitional phase of my life where like I like the idea of maybe moving to the suburbs and having kids and stuff. So what is it about this man that has maybe changed your mind from like wanting to be like a city girl and like live the city girl life?
Well, I think that question in and of its own, like what is it about this person? I mean, there's got to be, and like obviously like we talk about this often, there's got to be like growing pains when it comes to getting back into dating and getting back into relationships because it's like you have to like reestablish all those things that you thought you wanted with other people with somebody else. But I mean, they handle it so much different. Like, I mean, obviously he's doing things that your previous exes never did. So I guess like, how's that learning curve?
I would say that the overall like umbrella term to really encompass why Brandon is so different is safety. He makes me feel safe and super secure, whereas Q could never. He never made me feel secure, never made me feel safe, like in a literal or physical sense. And with Brandon, he just goes above and beyond to make me feel safe and heard and seen and appreciated. So it kind of makes me take down those walls and be a little bit more vulnerable and jump out of the city and consider moving in the suburbs with him because I know that he'll actually take care of me, unlike any other person I've ever been with.
Oh my gosh, I love that. And I love what you said
Her face
earlier.
got so soft.
I know. I'm just like, wow. Like, I'm in such like a soft girl mood today. I don't know if it's just the feminine energy that's flowing. The girlies are girling today. I love that. I love what you said earlier about having to reestablish the things that you thought you wanted in other people and have to like shift your mind. You know what I mean? Like, were there things that you thought that you wanted in a relationship that maybe Brandon changed your mind?
Well, to be honest, like a huge conversation that we had was about having kids, because I never saw myself as being a mother, because my biological mother was so abusive, drug addict, alcoholic. And I was like, wow, I have half of her chromosomes. Do I really want to pass that on? I come from a broken family, and I'm just like, if I bring a child into this world, I don't have the ability to give them a family other than just me. So with being with Brandon and him wanting to be a husband and wanting to be a father, he really opened up a feminine side of me. Even being a man, like he's really helped me bring out that side, that motherly side that I never thought existed. And so he's just so amazing in that way, which I've never experienced with anybody else. Even being like with my ex Gianna, who was a lesbian woman, extremely feminine and made me feel super powerful. He does it in such a different way that makes me feel like super safe and confident and secure with where I am in my life and in my relationship.
Yeah, I see that a lot when you get on like relationship TikTok, and it's like for a woman to be in her femininity. For a woman to be in her feminine, she has to feel like she can be safe, and it's like the best feeling when you can just kind of be like, oh, like let me just like let the men be men.
Yeah.
Like the girls are girling, we're letting the men.
Yeah. It also helps that he's 6 years older than me. Being a little bit older, I would say like I am more mature in many ways, but he's mature in other ways that I wouldn't get with someone who is my age or younger. So he has different perspectives and views on things that I would not really submerge myself in being 6 years younger. So we have like this really nice balance where I keep things like light and fun and young, and he's more like, what's the word? I don't want to say stern or strict because that's not it. He's more level-headed than me. He's not as whimsical as I am. So we have like a nice balance in our relationship because of that.
Well, I mean, I feel like the older you get, the tougher it is to date. You know, it's like I feel like a lot of people don't give like older generations credit. People have like gone through divorces, or like people have gone through like really bad breakups, and they're like older ages. You know, I mean, anything over I think the age of 30, not to even say that's old, but like it's got to be extremely tough. You know, because you're taking on. I don't like to use the word baggage, but like you're taking on someone else's baggage. You know, it's like we're still in our 20s, like later ends of that being like, wow, dating's starting to like really suck. When you're a little like younger, you're like, oh yeah, I got my heart broken and all these things, but it's like, yeah, I've endured all these things, but like so have they.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like you're not just meeting people who have been like, oh, in a relationship 1 or 2. It's like you're almost like taking on like all of these different things.
Yeah, because I don't like the word baggage either, but like let's just run with it for a second. His baggage and my baggage are completely different, which also helps. He's like really comfortable with talking about his relationship journey. Like he was married. I have never been married. He obviously is divorced now. So it forces me to really enter situations that I think are normal, whereas he may think that they're abnormal. But I have to like be respectful of his views and like where he's coming from because of his experiences. Because I'm so used to dating people like Q and all these other boys that like aren't mature, right? That would kind of let me run through life with like no direction, no opinion. They would just let me do whatever I wanted. Probably because they were doing whatever they wanted behind my back, right?
Yeah, they were.
Right. Yeah.
And more.
More.
So it's interesting dating someone that's older who had been married because his perspective is a lot different. It's really comforting actually having someone not have the same baggage as me necessarily, but we also trauma bond on like cheating. So we have like really open communication about that. And I think our communication is pretty top notch. Like we over communicate in a healthy way.
I think you should.
Yeah.
I feel like if you're not over communicating, you leave room for people to assume what you're feeling.
Exactly.
And that can totally buld resentment.
Yeah.
I think it's good to be an
Absolutely.
over communicator.
We have like this really good, like this little exercise where it's like, do you want solutions or do you want comfort? So if I'm like venting to him about whatever, he'll be like, do you want a solution or comfort? Because sometimes when you just want to vent, you don't want them to be like, well, maybe you should try this. Maybe you should do this. Sometimes I just want to like bitch for a minute, you know?
Yeah.
And so we kind of established that early on, which I've never had again with anyone else.
Yeah. Well, I think earlier too, you talked about, this is kind of like sidetracking, but you talked about like, oh, I've never talked about having kids with anybody else. And it's sometimes you look at your significant significant others. You could be so totally in love with them and think they're everything you want and all these things, but at the end of the day, they're not the parent to your kid. I've thought of that with exes before. It's like, yeah, like you're the one, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you, but are you like the parent to the children that I want to have? Mm-hmm. And when you start to ask yourself those questions, it's like, maybe not, you know, like think of your in-laws, think of the family you're bringing in, think of your genes, you know, because I know you said that's a big thing for you, like thinking what you're bringing into the world and like how your partner supports you in those ways. But those are things to consider. And people don't, like some people like brush that off too early and they're like, well, we'll figure out if we want kids and all those things. But I'm like, yeah, but if you're so in love and you're building your life together and all those things, like think of them parenting what you could be bringing into the world. And sometimes the person you think is just everything to you isn't the parent of your children though. Because I think that's a different kind of love.
Definitely.
But I think it also speaks to the relationship that you have with somebody. Like if you have a good relationship with them, chances are they're going to have a good relationship with your kids. They're going to have good communication skills. They're going to be level-headed for the most part. And, you know, if you love them, chances are you're going to like the qualities that they'll pass on to your kiddos.
Right.
So I want to go back to what you said about cheating. Is that why I don't want to be like, let's air out his marriage problems.
Honestly, he'd be cool with it.
Okay, thank you, Brandon.
Thank you, Brandon.
Is that why his marriage ended?
Yeah. He was married for, I believe, like 6 years. Maybe he should come on the podcast and kind of talk about his breakup because it's pretty juicy, honestly. So I don't want to give too many details.
Brandon, come on the pod.
I know. Come
What
on,
episode
Brandon.
number would you like to be on?
But yeah, his wife stepped out of the marriage and was cheating like pretty regularly. It was like a secret weekly thing. And he will say like to your face that she would have gotten away with it forever if he didn't do something kind of abnormal and really innocent, actually. Obviously, they lived together. They had just bought a house. He happened to accidentally open up her piece of mail and he saw a credit card statement that every Monday she was going to like a hotel or a motel in a town that was like 45 minutes away. According to him, I've never met her and like I will never say like a bad thing about her because I don't know her. I don't know the circumstances, right? But he said that it was so unassuming. She never stepped out of line with like their routine. So she would text him the same time every day, like would say she was going to the gym same time every day. And so essentially she was like keeping up with this facade while she was with the other man. And if he never would have checked that piece of mail, he would have never known.
That's crazy.
Makes
And
me
that's
sick.
expensive too.
Yeah.
If you're spending $200 every single week.
Especially like in a marriage. Like, I mean, I know 2022 people don't do the same things they used to, but like I do feel like your financials like are very important in a relationship and you take those things on. And to think that like your significant other, I'm sure they were sharing expenses.
Yeah.
Like how are you not, you know?
Right.
And for him to like not be aware of money that could have been going to growing the family he thought he was creating.
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
absolutely. And they had just bought a house together. So that's a big expense in and of itself. You know what I mean? So like, you're right. When you share expenses and then you're going off and doing that could have been going towards something a little bit more important. Alas.
That's so wild that A, anybody would think that's okay.
Right.
But B, the fact that she had the balls to do it in the first place. How long into the marriage did this happen? Was it like the last year and then he cut it off immediately? Did he try to work through it?
So from what I gathered, and obviously like I love Brandon to death, there's always two sides to every story, right? And I take it for like what it's worth, what he says. So they were married for 6 years. And from what he told me, he absolutely loved being a husband. He always wanted to be a husband, has always wanted to be a dad. He initially forgave her. Obviously they had a fight about it. Like, how can you not? Like, this is your wife cheating on you. But he was willing to make it work. And he was like, I love you. Like, I probably like messed up too. Takes two to tango. And so he was willing to make it work. And she was not, even though she was the one that cheated. She was like, I don't want to make this work. I want to file for divorce. And they like went through a mediator. They didn't necessarily go through the standard divorce system. I don't know. I've never been divorced. So I don't know what that looks like, but they went through a mediator and he said that he literally like on his knees begged for her to stay at like the courthouse or the mediator's office. And she was like, no, I'm done. And she walked away. He has no idea if she is still with that man that she cheated on him with. He has no idea. They just haven't spoken or seen each other since.
That's heartbreaking for him to be on his knees, like so in love with this woman who has done him wrong in so many ways.
Yeah.
First of all, I think it speaks to the kind of man he is. So like props to you for getting with this guy.
Yeah.
And so I'm sure that's been really tough to work through in your relationship with him. But
Oh, for sure.
yeah. Because I was going to ask him like, how does that make you feel dating a divorced man? But this is something like he clearly wanted to stay in the marriage.
Yeah. In a way, it makes me feel comforted that I know that he can handle being in a marriage in the first place. Because I feel like a lot of men like talk the talk, but then they get cold feet, right? So I know that him being a husband is something super important to him, which makes me feel safe, makes me feel secure. Maybe that's something that I want. It is something I want. So it's like, that's really nice, but it definitely comes with its own issues that we have to over communicate about. So like I talked about earlier, I navigate my life thinking about me first, and I sometimes make decisions that could inadvertently hurt him. So if I like put myself in a situation that, who knows, like primarily men, or if I'm at a rave or a festival partaking in party favors, that's not something that he's used to, being in a marriage with a woman who didn't do those things. Everyone in his life has told him and me that me and his ex-wife, polar opposites.
Really?
Polar opposites. So she was very quiet and shy and like didn't really try conversing with anyone, whereas me, I don't shut the hell up. So like I want to be friends with everyone. Like I like to party, but I'm also responsible. She was very much like a homebody. So when I put myself in situations that he wasn't used to, sometimes it can cause issues, but we tend to work them out either that day or the very next day. It has its little speed bumps for sure.
Well, he did a total 180.
With me, yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
So you two met on Tinder.
Thinks I'm throwing a jab
Oh
at
yeah,
her.
every person I've ever dated minus Gianna, I met on Tinder.
The classic 2022.
Meanwhile,
Well, I guess
Abby and I over here are deleting our apps because we're over it.
I'm so burned out from the dating apps. You have no idea. I haven't had a romantic connection in what feels like years.
Well, it's hard with dating apps too, because it is super, like, it's super superficial, honestly. That was probably the one thing that I said that I did differently that I was proud of, is I didn't really swipe on anyone super fast. I read everyone's bio.
Oh, so what did Brandon say?
He was a little bit of an anomaly because I have a screenshot of his bio. I'm not going to read it, but it wasn't as like detailed as I would have liked. But it was just kind of cute, short, and witty. But I'm not going to lie, his photos were smoking hot. That is what got me, because he was really hot, and like his bio was like that he liked WWE, like wrestling, tattoos, etc. And I was like, oh, so you're hot and like cool. Sure, I'll swipe.
And Abby and I have done a whole episode on like what do you put in your bio and how do you answer these questions on
yeah,
dating apps.
we
And we were
just
talking
talked
about
about
this
this.
earlier. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't know what the heck I'm going to put in here. This is not going to be a representation of me. And if you put this in your bio, I'm going to be like, okay, sick. Well, let's talk about that because I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's just funny because it's like some people take it like so seriously. I've sent you people before, been like, I'm talking to this person on Tinder, and you've been like, yeah, I hate the bio though. Come on.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
it's all
really.
about the bio.
What are you not going to like about the bio?
No names here, but like, it said like, I suck at these and I rarely check this app. Ugh.
I hate that.
Yeah.
It's such a cop-out. Like, I'm too good for the apps.
Right.
It's like you're too good for the apps, but you're on the app. So like put in a little bit of effort. Even if you put like your sign, at least something,
Give me anything.
Instead of being like, I'm not good at this. Well, then maybe you're not good at communicating.
Yeah,
Maybe
but,
you're
like,
not
if
good
I
at
see
like
somebody-
planning dates. Like if you're not good at something this simple, how can I expect you to be good at actually dating?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's such a turnoff for me.
I couldn't agree more.
What, by the bio?
If you have a bad bio, oh yeah, it's
Oh
a
my
turn
God,
off.
this is why I don't get dates. My
I
bio's
don't-
horrible. It
I
says I'm a
don't-
Disney pass holder.
Listen, I think people dry up real quick when they see you're a Disney adult.
Should we have a whole dry up real quick? That picture of me hugging Goofy, baby. Should we have a whole episode where we just like break down my bio? Like we write it together?
I think we did that in one
yeah.
episode. It's
I think we did answer questions about her.
shameless plug. It's the dating app breakdown. It's a mini episode from a week, a couple.
Like episode 8. Like,
Episode 8, something
it was
like that.
in the early days.
You
but-
can search for it.
But
Yeah.
I will say them saying, I'm not really that good at this, I don't know what to put in here, is better than no bio at all. I don't care if you are as hot as Jason Momoa. If you have no bio, I am swiping left on you.
So, like,
or I
whoa.
would
What about
when
me
I
just
had a
putting like
Tinder.
the peach emoji?
You know, I hate that.
Let's put a pin in that. I don't
Okay,
know
I
about
will
that.
put a pin in that.
I think sometimes if you don't have anything good to say, don't say anything at all.
Right.
Well, that's the
So
thing.
keep it. Just
But then
don't
people
put
think
anything
you're
in
like
there.
fake if you don't have a bio. Like,
Or just plug like your other socials in there. So like if you
On
don't
the
know what to
radio?
say, if you don't know what to say in your bio, plug your Instagram, plug your, I don't know, Twitch.
No,
I
that's
don't know
my
if
new
people use
move.
Twitch
Twitch.
anymore. I don't know.
That's
That's
like
my
new
biggest
move.
pet peeve is if a guy puts his Instagram in the bio and then he's private. So I'm like, what was the
yeah.
point, sir? Like,
What was the point?
what do you want me
I'm
to do?
private on Instagram, and I know that's like kind of annoying for some people because I think I did put my Instagram in my Tinder, and I am private. Oh, awkward. That was definitely me.
I
That
mean,
means they
but
have
if
to
you- if
friend
you have-
request you.
If you have other info, then it's not that big of a deal. But if it's just like the only thing you're putting in there,
Yeah.
and you're private, it's like, why am I going to your Instagram? I went there to find photos of you.
Yeah.
Show me the photos.
Yeah.
I don't know. Because then it also like it puts me in a place where I feel like you might reject me. So if you're on private and then I follow you, like if I'm really committed to this, and then you don't accept my follow request, then I'm gonna really know that you didn't like me, and it's just gonna hurt that much more. I want to talk a little bit about age gaps. I did get a DM from a man who's 8 years older than me.
Okay, love it.
And the age doesn't freak me out. It doesn't freak me out, but that's like almost a decade.
So why doesn't it freak you out? I'm not saying it freaks me out. I'm just asking why doesn't it freak you out?
It does, but it doesn't.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to going on a date with him. Like, I'm attracted to him. So it doesn't freak me out in the sense that I'm like, ew, old man. But it freaks me out in the sense that I'm like, A, you're an objectively attractive man and you're 34. What happened
It's
here?
like when people go on The Bachelor and they're great people. It's like, why are you still single? You get what I'm saying? Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah.
Like,
that's kind of what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
Kind of like, why are you this age and why are you single? And like,
Yes.
why are you on the apps type thing?
Well, he's not on the apps. He found me on social media.
Oh,
So-
I missed that. Okay.
So he added me on social media. He slid into my DMs. He doesn't have any photos on his Instagram, which was another like, what is happening here?
Well, maybe it's because of his age that he doesn't have photos on his
And I know,
Instagram.
because then he added me on Facebook. I was like, wow, this is real boomer shit right here. And so he has photos on his Facebook.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, like this man is handsome, but like what's happening here? And also like if you're 34, like do you want kids tomorrow? Because I'm still not in a place where I'm like ready to be like, I want kids.
So-
I think that's actually what freaks me out.
That's
is the
biggest
kids thing.
And that's why I asked you. So I have no problem with age gaps in relationships. I really don't. Like, you know, and it's like I've always actually, to be honest with you, dated like usually a couple years younger than me. And the reason I say that like some people have issues with it, and I totally understand it, is because sometimes it means you're at two different places in your life. You know what I mean? Like if you are ready to settle down, like my last situationship, I literally said I would like to be engaged by 30. And they said, and like, yes, I get it. The social norm of, we had this conversation, the social norm of being like 30 is the new 20 and I want to be engaged and whatever. No, it has nothing to do with any of that. I just know that like I have set a goal for myself at 28 that in 2 years, this is where I would like to be. And it so happens to be 30. So me as a 28-year-old, I would be saying probably 2 years ago, I actually did say 2 years ago, by 28, I would like to be engaged. You know, so I'm saying these things, but the most recent person I was talking to, well, that's great because they were 2 years younger than me. And they were like, that's great because do you not understand that I want to be having kids by the time I'm 30? And I'm like, oh, so that's me 32. We're good, you know? But if you don't align on those timelines, you know, it's like you've had conversations with Brandon being like, okay, well, am I ready for this? Because he's already had a little taste of the married life. He knows he's ready to get back into it. Are you there?
Because I'm 29.
Yeah. So it's like there's a lot of things that you have to link up on. You know, it's like maybe you don't want kids or don't know when you want to have kids and you're dating someone 6 years older than you who has decided they don't want kids. You know, so it's like, okay, sick. But that's the biggest thing. And people don't think about those things when they're like, you are at two very different points of your life. I think you're at different points of your life if you're the same age and living in two different states.
Oh, definitely.
I think you're at different points in your life if...
Yeah. I mean, teens in like New York City versus teens where I grew up, generations apart.
Absolutely.
I'm still years behind those kids.
100%.
I'm still like mentally 15.
Yeah, so that's the thing, and that's what you have to consider going into these things.
Yeah.
Is like you're at different points of your life and you have to have the same goals. And if those goals don't align, well, it's like, yeah, I really wanted to be a parent by like next year. Okay, sick. Well, I'm 3 years younger than you and don't even like have a stable job yet. Or it's like I've met people younger than me who are making 3 times the money I'm making and I'm like, sick, I'm not stable yet. You have a house. I'm living in an apartment that my parents like spot me for rent when I'm broke. Not to say that that's what's going on.
I was about to say, I'm like, someone needs to stop going to Disney.
Yes, but either way, you get what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah, well, can I add something to what you just said?
Yeah.
Because you have like this timeline, this very engaged by 30 timeline that everyone seems to stick to. So dated, by the way. You can't put a timeline on your life. Like you can't put a timeline on like meeting your soulmate.
right. And I agree. And like, look, my most recent long, serious relationship, we met when I was 25, probably. No, 24, because I'm 28 now, and it was 3.5 years. So we met at 24, and I literally knew a year and a half into that relationship, I'm like, yeah, like in another year and a half, I would like to be engaged to you. So that's the thing.
Yeah.
And I think that now with somebody, but I'm pretty sure like before I moved to Florida, I'm like, yeah, I'm taking 2 years off of dating, like, you know, and I think those things changes. So yes, I say now as a 28-year-old, I would like to be engaged by 30, but it was never engaged by 30 before me being 28, you know, it was always just like in 2 years from now, these are my goals.
But I also think if you meet the right person, they can help you form a timeline. Because for me, no timeline. Never wanted to get married. Never wanted to have kids. I really just wanted to like take life by the balls, do my own thing, right?
Yeah, and I respect that.
And then when I met Brandon, I was just like, I got to think about my biological clock now. That has never been a thought in my mind ever. Like approaching 30, it's going to be more difficult to have children. Not going to be married by the time I'm 30. So I'm probably going to have kids in the next couple years. Am I able to have kids? You know what I mean? mean? So dating someone who actually has a timeline and who has an age gap, even if it's only 6 years, helps you form your own timeline within yourself when you meet the right person.
Yeah, and I think of 2 situationships ago when I was talking to someone, I'm like, I know that they would not be ready for these things until 3 years from now.
Right.
Yeah.
You know?
I think you can definitely have a timeline when you're with someone because it's like you're working towards something. Just like any relationship, like where are we going with this? Are we having kids? Are we not going to have kids? Do we want to do any financial goals? Whereas like when you're single, you can't really work towards a relationship. You just kind of have to like manifest it and like pray and like hope the stars align.
Listen, single as a Pringle and still want to be engaged by 30 out here. So
Shameless plug.
shameless plug.
Any hot people out there want to get with Lexi, let us know.
Call me up.
She's closing in on 30 real quick.
Yep.
Gonna close out this episode by telling you the next Summer Thursdays episode will be up on June 9th. Kennedy just got back from Barcelona and I don't know if she'll want me to reveal anything, but it was a business trip with some very handsome sales reps, and you know how we feel about our sales reps, and I'm just going to leave it at that. I'll let Kennedy tell the story when she gets back. Also, don't forget the breakup form is in the episode description. I'm looking for those breakup stories, whether it's yours, a friendship breakup, or a couple you want me to look into. I'll see you on June 9th.